we should definitely like introduce the idea of menstruation earlier on, make it more of a topic that everyone should talk about, use the media to help spread the word and see it as more of like an identity that women can embrace about themselves. Well, not women, like all menstruators, and celebrate it as something that's like a growing and developing process and something that just a lot of people go through.
We need to broaden our audience, not just like, and in some way I'm talking about kind of like language, and now we need our information to reach not only just English-speaking communities, but like minority groups that do not speak English or have little experience with English, how we can help them in terms of kind of like letting them understand what information we're putting out. Because regardless of how educated you are, your family still is an impact on you, and you cannot really just sort of like progress without like letting your family understand what exactly you're doing. So I think part of the public sort of education has to reach out to those groups.
I think the more we have books and literature, we're having classes now being taught. I'm going to participate in this global classroom between a college in the United States and a college in India, and it's all about menstruation. And so that's pretty amazing. So I think access to information, teaching students is really super empowering.
I think talking about it more to not just menstruators, but people who don't menstruate, just so everyone understands and feels comfortable discussing it. I think you have to remove the idea that a period is shameful or is not something that we discuss in public. You just have to talk about it. And I feel like the more you talk about it, the more you feel comfortable. I wasn't as comfortable talking about it when I first got it, but around 11th grade, I started experiencing more like difficult symptoms with periods and more painful periods where like I would pass out during school or I would throw up. And I feel like just having someone to confide in made me more comfortable talking about periods, and that's why I feel like just discussing periods in general makes you more comfortable talking about it and removes the stigma around it.
You can't know about something that no one's willing to talk about. So I think that the more that, and this is something that I think about anything that's stigma based, which is I think something that you really have to acknowledge, that like there's a lot of stigma around people who menstruate. There just is. So like anything that's stigma based, the best way that I know to combat stigma is to talk freely and openly about it in like an open and educational way, not necessarily all of the information and not overwhelming people, but just being willing to have the conversation and bringing it up, I think is something that's really important and something that it's really on all of us to do if we care about people who menstruate, which like everyone knows someone who menstruates, right? Like everyone was birthed from someone who menstruated. So like, it's not like it's not affecting people, but people don't know that it's affecting them. And so it's just kind of like any other social issue where it's just like, you don't realize this is affecting you. This is how, let me explain to you how this affects you. But it's like any other issue where sometimes you feel like you're screaming at the wall being like, I can't make you care about other people. But at some point, like to some extent, like through relationship and conversation, changes can be made even to like very deeply held beliefs. And so I think that like relationship and conversations is the way that we'll need to address it.
I mean, we are seeing change happen very, very fast. 2 years ago, my students and I participated in the Reproductive Justice Inside Coalition here in Maryland, asking for free products in the Maryland prisons, jails, detention centers, and juvenile facilities. And in the very first year, that bill passed. And it's not common for a bill to pass in the very first year, but that one did. And while we still need to make sure that all those facilities are having free products, we are in the process of really effectuating change, and that's super empowering and exciting.